my topic is about digital well-being and like Google's research behind it, and like how we help people understanding their tech use, focus on like how they control it and preventing like distraction of their phone. Before I start, I want to do a little survey. Although we have only a couple of people here, but I also want to ask questions. How often do you sleep late because you're using phone during the bedtime? Raise your hand if it's never. Cool, that's good. Once a week or less, like twice or something like that? Okay, cool. Is it like half a week or, okay, like evenly? It sounds like almost every day? Okay, that's good. We don't have people like that. How much time do you spend on your phone? Like, do you think how much time do you spend on phone daily? If it's less an hour?
Like reviewing?
Yeah, including reviewing email, like anything you're doing with your phone. 24 hours, okay? Okay. That's one answer. So if it's 1 to 3 hours, okay. Do you think more than 3 hours? Let's do it evenly. So,
you work remotely and you're in front of a computer.
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
You work from home. Does computer work?
No, just your phone. Yeah, just your phone. Yeah. So like some average people, like it's like 1 to 3 hours or even a little more. It's pretty natural because we have so many apps now, and we use the phone a lot. According to a survey coming from 2017, the ComScore report, it says average American adults spending 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's a report in 2017. So I guess some data will change in 2018 or now. But that's about a lot of time. It's about 1/8 of a day that you're spending on your phone. So that also comes a question to me. It's like, do people here all realize how much time you're spending here? Like, is any moment you feel, oh, did I spend much than I like want? Or like, how much time do you feel like you need to spend? Google did some research on this part. Back in 2015, our research team wanted to learn like the notification of a phone and like how people manage their attention. When we studied on this topic, we heard that people feel stress coming from notification. People said notification makes us attached to our phone. It's horrible. Or something like, if I don't know where my phone for 2 seconds, I freak out. What if I miss something? That's probably like extreme cases, but like we noticed people have those issues. So after the research, we changed our notification with an intention to give people more control, like to turn off the things that may disturb them. And then since then, we also did several research. We are not just studying on the attention management, but we keep hearing something like that, like people, like I'm slave to my phone, what have I become? Or from the moment I wake up, I look at my phone. Like people have a lot of cases that they feel a little worried or concerned about, using the phone too much. And then later we realized that people also attach their phone because they have the fear of missing any important message. They really feel like they cannot be away of their smartphone of like missing any like message from their friends or like important emails from the boss. It's not just an tight connection to their phone. Some people also bring like the issues they found with their phone, like headaches or trouble sleeping. They all contribute to their phone use. And we also learn like from a lot of articles, like people have this awareness that the negative effects from the smartphones. Like in the Wall Street Journal, it says why personal tech is depressing, or like media have an article about smartphones harm your productivity. And like New York Times use very strong words like how evil tech is. from those like awareness, we heard that people have a desire like, okay, maybe use the phone too much and I want to be disconnect sometime. But the reality is like opportunities are very real. Think about the moment you're like disconnect with your phone. Perhaps when you are on the flight or when your phone is not discharged. But even those moments are real, but people are appreciative of that because they can do other things more frequently, like if spending more time with my families or my friends. And then later in 2017, our research team hears something different from phone use. So we talked to the feature phone users in Japan. Someone said like, I don't want to spending time on a smartphone because I saw other people who are doing that and they're relying on their social networks a lot. I want to be self-control and like I have my time on other things. And they are so happy about like their currently phone control, which inspired us to think about where their joys comes from. And we realized that the joy comes from the feeling in control. It doesn't feel like you're missing out anything. It's the joy of missing out. And compared to the guilty and the resentment toward the smartphones we keep heard from the users, and then see those feature phone users who are happy about their phone and tech control. We want to dig a little more on this area. So we did a research. We have a goal to understanding like how the experience of excessive like use of phone and is people do have the willing to being disconnected. We ask people like, how do people feel like they are disconnected and what's the ideal health relationship of using a phone. So we went to like both Zurich and then those San Francisco, doing like several hours interviews and improvisation. We have about 19 participate during the research with a wide range of nationalities and also the ages. And later, we also adding additional sample of 112 people who coming from the past research that we finding the similar things that come similar to this research. So what did we learn? First, it's important to knowing that smartphones are very important to our life. There's a lot of essential functions that smartphone already replaced in the past. For example, you're using phone to call for like communication or even call for help, like emergency call. Or you like check your local restaurant address and use the phone to navigate to it. Or even like just call for transportation. It's also replaced other things like alarm clocks or like cameras or even cash in some companies. So if it's so important to our life, why people sometimes still feel guilty about it? Then we realize that it's because people fear not just like they're spending time on those essential things, but they're also spending time on a lot of like unintentional behaviors, which makes them feel guilty. Like they may check their time initially, but then get distracted in other apps. Or they're scrolling on their social media app and then realize that, oh, I'm spending 1.5 hours on that. Notice that it's really about the intention. Like if people feel like, oh, I'm feeling good about spending 1.5 hours on those social media, that's fine. But if they feel like, oh, I'm spending much time than I expected without any intending to do that, it makes them feel guilty. And from those use cases, we saw two behaviors. One is the internal struggle with like have a good habit and self-regulation. And another one is external pressure to respond. I will start with explain the first one. So like a lot of like phones using is like you have a lot of triggers and like notification or other things. And people will receive those triggers and then they check the phone. And then they may get a message or alert. But no matter what it is, it's a reward. And then learning from that pattern that I will get a trigger and then later I will get a reward. repeatedly, they inform that habit, and this habit evolved over time, and now they feel a little more out of control. Some people experience that I feel my phone is buzzing, even it's silent, and I will just check it to see if anything is there. Or I just repeatedly refreshing my app, hoping for new content. Like this person just keeping using the news app and refresh and keeping tapping on that. Or even just contribute to the content. So like they will post or comment on people's posts. They're hoping that another person will respond to them, and they get back to this loop. Someone just even mentioned it's like a prison. You can get lost in your phone and not get out. And then another behavior, like I just mentioned, is the external pressure from like being responding to other people's. Because now we have so many social apps, and also message is involved so much, and also like you have a good Wi-Fi connection all the time. People expect you to be online all the time. So when they send a message, they are anxious about, oh, will I get their response immediately or not? And when I receive the message, I feel the pressures that, oh, someone is waiting for my message, and I need to get response immediately. There are some stories of people get struggled in this, like this person have the friendship broken because she cannot like reply to her friend for 3 hours when she was like rushing to the airport, and her friends never like reply again, which is a sad story. Also, this person, she's like mad off like her friend when her friend keeping tick off when she is in a meeting with her boss, and also like her friend also interesting said like when your best friend won't return your message. It's also another sad story. Because people are so struggle with those cases, like those 2 cycles, I just want to repeat what I just mentioned. It's the internal struggle of like have a good habit, and also external pressure like have to be respond in time. So when there's a moment that people can be disconnected, they feel the joy, and their moments are really precious. Some people already discovered those kind of issues and try to like deal with that. They may like delete apps, which is extreme things. Or when the phone dies, just leave it die, not charging it. Or like try to be a little more self-regulate, like only do certain like apps or check certain apps when in the weekend or not off work. So those are what we learned from the research. And after that, we have a lot of discussion and follow-ups and try to think about what we can do to like solving those people's issues. And then we have 3 proposals. One is raising the awareness. We believe that first step is like people have to be aware of how much time they're spending on their phone before they can make any decision on if I want to change my behavior. So we introduced this like the digital well-being. It's announced on I/O 2018. If you have the Pixel phone, you probably can use it. And I think we're going to expanding to other Android system apps too. Like you can see how much time you're spending on the screen time with the breakdown of like how much time I spending on each app. You also can see like when did I using the app most? Is it on a weekend or it's on a weekly? Or even like drill down to like specific like phone app. And also another thing we want to is increasing awareness through different mediums. Like this is one example from our website. We want to let people knowing that they are not the only person who get frustrated on that. There's a way to help and to cope with it. Secondly, with the awareness that people like we bring to the people, we also want to give the users like tools to practice to form new habits toward the goals they want. We want to give them the flexible to control. So the first thing that is very important to know is like people can do what is right for them. So we want we're not telling them like, oh, what apps they should using, like what apps are bad for using. They have their needs to like doing whatever they want, but we want to give them the flexible to control the time. So we introduced this app timer, so you can set up a specific time for each app. And like if I'm using, for example, on the second screen, if I'm using YouTube and the time is running out, I will receive a notification. I can decide if I want to like keep going and using the YouTube or just stop for today. With this extra step, notice that there's a nuance difference. Like we give the users awareness, so they knowing how much time they're spending, and they have this control to like either decide continue or not. With that awareness, they will be more happier about that and less guilty about like how much time they're spending on the app. Also, we want to introduce this wind down mode, which is try to improve people's like time before the sleeping. So if you turn this on, and during your bedtime, the screen will become gray and visually like less appealing, which is also good for your eyes during the bedtime. You also can turn on the do not disturb, so you won't get any notification during that time. Third things we think is like when we design the apps, we need to be more responsible on that part. We believe that even people like are engaged certain apps a lot, they may not feel good about it. It can be a cost like, oh, I'm spending too much time on that and then feel guilty and later have a lower user satisfaction on those apps. So we are considered that our product can promote intentional use and promote the better user satisfaction. For example, like understanding and measuring like what other indicators that values to the user, rather than just focus on like engagement. So like for using the app timer as an example, we ask like which of the apps they are setting time for. Are they changing the time over time? What happens if they hit minute limit? Do they resetting it, or are they okay with how much time they are spending? So those are like what Google's digital well-being initiatives. And for all of you here who might be developers, PMs, or any like people who have the influencing in this industry, what you can contribute to the digital well-being. There's 3 suggestions. One is providing users more awareness of their behaviors, make them feel good about their time they're spending in the app. It may not changing their behavior once they have this awareness, but it makes them feel good about how much time they can control of it. And then later they can have better feeling about your product as in general too. Also consider how your product works. Does that produce a lot of triggers, a lot of notifications? Is that all of the triggers or notifications are valuable at that situation? Is there any way to combine them to reduce those things if it's not necessary to like sending like 7 notifications like a day or something? Does a product also like cause any like makes people feel anxious to respond, to engage in the product? Is there any way to reduce those moments? Also think about what metrics of your product, like which aspect of your product does that user actually value the most? It may not just be the engagement, but other things that is valuable to the users. Do they feel like in control of their apps, or sometimes will feel like out of control? Like it's not just about getting user attention. The user perspective and also the experience also matters a lot. If they don't feel good about that, they may do some extreme things like delete the app or not engage it at all, right? So ask yourself if you are thinking about those questions. So those are the areas we expect, we want to have you guys help with and get more insights for. We care about those a lot because we believe that when we build in a product, we try to bring the good benefit of the technology to our users. But if our product is competing for people's attention, which may have the negative effects to them, and we need to provide value, not just compete for attention, and we need to be precious to people's time, not waste it, and we have this responsibility to support and respect people. That's all for my presentation. Thanks for listening. And if you're interested to learn more about digital well-being, you can check it on the wellbeing.com. And I'm Lucy. You can also find me on the Twitter. Thank you.